The following segments are pre-recorded and sponsored by Longworth Productions.
Keeping the public safe on Triad Today. Hello everyone, I'm Jim Longworth and welcome to another episode of Triad Today, coming to you from the Senior Botanical Garden in Kernersville. We'll tell you more about the garden later on, and later on is when the roundtable shows up, so stay tuned for that. We have a great show for you today. Where we want to start is talking about public safety, and if it sounds like I'm rushing through this introduction, it's because we only have about 6 minutes to talk. And for these two gentlemen, we need about 6 hours to go into the serious topics that we're going to try to cover, which is public safety. With me now, my good friend Bobby Kimbrough, who is Sheriff of Forsyth County and a newcomer to Triad Today and to his post. William Penn is Chief of Police in Winston-Salem. Welcome, gentlemen. Good to see you.
Welcome. Good to see you again.
The first question for both of you is, how bad is violent crime in Forsyth County and in Winston-Salem? Chief, you start out.
It's significant. We're on pace to break records in homicides as well as in shootings. And it's a phenomenon across the nation with violent crime. Greensboro having the same issue. So it's definitely significant.
Sheriff, the county-wide, how bad is violent crime?
Well, county-wide, if you just take the county itself, it's not as bad. But if you include the city, which sits in the county, then I'd have to echo the same words, sentiments that Chief Penn said. But we battle crime together, and we don't section it off. We battle it together.
And because you've attributed a lot of it to gang activity and everything else, it's not like there's a border there. They can be.
It's not.
Coming from anywhere. Let me ask both of you, what are you doing to abate this problem, to try to curtail violent crime or work on that problem? I'll start with you, Sheriff.
Well, one of the things that we've done is we've always had a great relationship and a partnership with the Winston-Salem Police Department, especially with Chief Penn. So what we've done is we've created the JIT unit, the Juvenile Investigative Unit that we have, that we are working in the city with alongside the Winston-Salem Gang Unit. Also during the summer, the SROs that typically would be working inside of the school, we utilize them inside of the community, inside of the city this summer, which gave great results.
Right. Chief, what about you? What's the police department? What are some things y'all are doing to try to curtail the crime problem?
I echo the sheriff. We work together. That's most important. We work with our federal partners. We're working with state partners. We're utilizing technology like never seen before with our real-time crime center. We spend the summer making sure our kids have something to do, so we come up with programs to keep them busy there.
Well, that's great.
Well, we work with the gang steering committee, so those kids who go wayward, trying to bring them back into the fold. So we have a lot of initiatives.
Ever since the pandemic, and really even before, your departments had shortages of personnel. And that's no different now, maybe worse now. How many deputies, how many officers are you down right now, Sheriff?
So I'm down right now, 12 sworn deputies.
Oh my gosh.
In the detention, I'm down 107.
Chief, what about you?
We're about 100 officers short.
Good Lord. What's the problem, guys?
So I think that the problem inside the detention center, I think, as I've said before, and I've been echoing this, is that the era in which we're living in, people don't wake up and say, I want to be a detention officer. There has to be some incentive. The pay has to be incentivized. You know, we've got to realize that the new color of hope is green. When you look around the surrounding counties and say, okay, what are they paying them? So if I can work in Forsyth County and I can work in Guilford and I can make more money in Guilford County, while, you know, $5,000, $8,000 is a significant increase.
You lose them to other localities. But Chief, I know I don't have the right stuff to be a policeman. I get that, but there ought to be enough guys around and women that do have the right stuff that want to be. I mean, what's the problem?
We took a hit. We took a hit in 2020 with COVID. We took a hit with George Floyd. We took a hit as far as public sentiment. Folks, family members were saying, don't do this job. So, but it seems like it's a lot of people, but it takes a special person to have a public servant heart and to go out and do this on a day-to-day basis.
Right. Is it a money issue? I know you need equipment, you need a lot of things. SROs would like to have a lot more metal detectors in schools. There's all sorts of things going on. Are you doing what you need to do to attract new officers and deputies, do you think?
Of course. I mean, we have a full marketing team, recruitment team. We're hoping that the board will approve some of the raises that are on the table in the upcoming weeks for a vote. So we're doing everything that we can to attract men and women to law enforcement. As the chief saying, we took a hit during COVID,
right.
From the public opinion to a lot of things as it relates to the society.
Last thing I want to mention real quickly, how can the community help you do your job quickly?
Support us. Take time to help support kids, even if they're not your own. Get out in the community.
All right, Chief.
So the public can help me by showing up at some of the commissioners' meeting on Thursdays, being attentive. I need your voice. It's your voice that changes the trajectory. We need your support and we need your voices when the votes are up for funding. We need your voice and your support.
All right, good point. Now, a couple things I want to put up on screen. For information about the Sheriff's Department, you can go to co.forsyth, it stands for county, co.forsyth.nc.us/sheriff to check out what's going on with the City Police Department, cityofws.org, and I think /319 is one of the pages that gets you there. Gentlemen, I want you to come back. We've had the Sheriff many times. Chief, don't be a stranger, and thanks for all you guys do.
Certainly
Thank
will.
you for what you do. Thank you.
We'll be right back after this.
Need help buying food? Everyone needs help sometimes. Food Nutrition Services may be able to help you buy food and free up your money for other expenses, such as utilities and medicine. To receive F&S assistance, households must meet income limits. You may be able to get assistance even if you own a home, car, land, property, or have a retirement plan or money in the bank. Second Harvest Food Bank of Northwest North Carolina team members can help you with the application process over the phone. To receive help or if you have any questions, call 336-422-7758.
Hi, I'm Jim Longworth, reminding you that Triad Today is now streaming on WFMY Plus, available free on Roku and Amazon Fire TV. Back now on Triad Today. I'm excited about meeting this guest. He's a first-time visitor to the show, and he does a lot for a lot of kids. And let's find out why and how. With me is Dr. Michael Hughes, Assistant Professor and Pediatric Orthopedic Surgeon at Atrium Health, Wake Forest Baptist, and Brenner Children's Hospital. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Graduate of Vanderbilt and many other places, and we're so glad you're in the area doing what you do.
Glad to be here.
What are some of the conditions you see and treat with pediatric orthopedics at Brenner? Just give me some examples.
Sure. So it's kind of neat working where we are because we have a truly comprehensive pediatric orthopedic team, from the everyday broken bones, twisted ankle, sports injuries, to the common either congenital or acquired deformities like bow-leggedness, knock knees, scoliosis, to the even more complex and rare things like early onset scoliosis or sometimes even life-threatening orthopedic concerns.
Yeah, I'm going to ask you some specifics about that in just a second, but in general, when we talk about a child with an acute condition or problem versus a chronic one, let the folks at home know kind of an example of each.
Sure. So from an acute side of things, broken elbows, broken legs, trauma, things like that. On a chronic side of things, we see a lot of clubfoot deformity, babies born with that, or hip dysplasia, and we also do a lot of work in spinal deformity like scoliosis.
You talked about the comprehensive team. Let me focus on that just a second. I know it's going to sound like I'm doing a commercial for you guys, but where I want to go with this is that it's the teamwork thing is important, because I'm not going to name other healthcare providers or anything, but sometimes people treat kids as adults and they're not, right? How does your team benefit everybody?
Well, we benefit everybody, from the patient to the families, by approaching them from a large multidisciplinary team. We work both with physician extenders like nurse practitioners and physician assistants who can see the patients either in the hospital or in the clinic very quickly. We get people in same day or next day, to non-surgical providers. So much of pediatric orthopedic treatment is not with surgery, and we have great providers who do that a ton. And in the case that surgery is needed, we have really just fantastic surgeons and teams who make the care around surgery really come together.
And everybody on the same page. So
Absolutely.
that's very important there. All right, you
Absolutely.
mentioned scoliosis, so give me a brief definition, A, of what it is, and B, are there different types?
Absolutely. So scoliosis is just a big word that means an atypical alignment of the spinal bones. There's several different flavors of scoliosis, like I like to joke. The most common one is adolescent idiopathic, meaning it happens in the teenage years, and there's no underlying diagnosis
So
that's
they're not
causing
born with it?
They're not born with it. It actually doesn't even show up until after the age of 10.
Okay. Now, what are the treatment options for something like that? If your child develops, let's say he or she is maybe 13 or 14, and all of a sudden you're seeing this problem, they come to you, what are the treatment options?
Well, it kind of falls into three categories. The first one is just keep an eye on it. Watch to see if it's getting worse, or if they're at a skeletal maturity, meaning their bones are old enough that it's not going to get worse. The other phase, if it's a big enough curve in their back and they still have a lot of growth remaining, sometimes bracing is something that can help prevent it from getting worse. It doesn't permanently correct it, but it can stop it from getting worse until the patient's done growing, and then the risk of it getting worse goes away.
Right.
If the curve is big enough, or if the child has enough growth remaining, we're concerned that it will continue to worsen through the rest of their life. That's when things like surgery can play a role.
What makes Brenner Children's Hospital and Pediatric Orthopedic Department at Atrium such a special place for kids and patients?
Well, we have a fantastic community inside and outside of the hospital. And that comes not only from us as providers, but also the patients and families that we get to work with. We come together and work as a team for the kid.
Up on screen, wakehealth.edu/Atrium Health. Please check that out if you would. And Doc, I hope you will come back sometime. We want to find out more about your background and what you're up to. Will you do that sometime?
Would absolutely love it.
All right. We'll be right back after this.
Veterans, when you're struggling, soon becomes later, becomes someday, becomes when. Don't wait. Reach out.
Find resources at va.gov/reach.
Back now on Triad Today, and ever since the pandemic and really kind of before, we have dealt with shortages in a lot of industries, shortages of pilots, police officers, EMS folks. And as we find out now, there are shortages of college instructors, among other things, and we're going to talk about that with some good friends of ours. On my immediate right, our good friend Tempe Albright is Skills Training Manager for Goodwill Industries of Northwest North Carolina. Returning to the show, Alan Murdoch is Chief Economic Mobility and Workforce Outcomes Officer at Forsyth Tech. And his cohort is with us too as a first-time visitor. Rachel Schroeder is Associate Vice President for Employee Care and Holistic Wellness at Forsyth Tech. Welcome, everybody. Good to see you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Rachel, let me start with you. Lots of schools and agencies face shortages of staff, as I just alluded to. How does the lack of instructors impact on education, on allied health, on trade skill courses and the like? How serious is it, and how does it impact?
It impacts the amount of students that we're able to allow into certain programs, especially into healthcare. There's a huge demand for both healthcare and trade skills industries, and so they want the students, but we need the instructors to be able to provide training and skill the students for what's needed.
Well, what are you doing to try to abate that problem, to try to attract?
Can I say everything? We are having on-site job fairs that try to coincide with the unique hours, because a lot of these, we just need part-time a lot of time. We do have full-time opportunities as well. Networking has been huge for us, sign-on bonuses and more competitive wages. We've tried just about a little mix of everything to try to get the instructors that we need.
Everything short of you telling you'll cook everybody breakfast in the morning.
Sure, I haven't tried that yet.
That's right. Tempe, are there ways in which employers can support these kind of recruitment efforts of getting more instructors? School me on that.
Yeah, the ultimate would be the employer would provide an instructor for us.
Okay.
And this would really work for them because they get to know the students, get to cherry pick which ones they really want to hire.
Yeah.
And make sure that they're trained in the way they want to have them trained.
That's in their best interest too, because as you said, they might want to, as they see them and helping to recruit instructors, and they see the students coming through, maybe hire them as well. And that brings me to Alan. How important is it to develop a qualified workforce that's going to have an impact on the area economy, Alan?
It's extremely important. You know, when we look at businesses, if we want businesses to stay, we need people to answer their phones, run their machines, balance their books. And so having a workforce, or if we want companies to come in, same thing. We need to have a well-qualified workforce in order to let our economy grow.
And Rachel, as you mentioned a few minutes ago, you can't have a well-qualified workforce and graduates in these programs if you don't have instructors to teach them and mentor to them. Now, we talked about what you can do to try to attract instructors. I'm going to give a website, a couple of websites here. One is careers.forsythtech.edu. That's a good general website. Now, if somebody goes to that, if they're interested in being an instructor, how does that work?
Sure. We have all of our current vacancies posted on that site. They're welcome to call our Human Resources Department if they have general questions as well.
And Tempe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we can send people to the general Goodwill website, goodwillnwnc.org, to get some, as I said, general information, and that's okay for them. They can manage to go through those portals. Rachel, I know that you and Alan feel very deeply about what you do. Why is it gratifying to work in your position?
It's all about that economic mobility and seeing these students become graduates, be able to get a livable wage and just improve their lives, their families' lives. It's very exciting.
Alan?
I'd say it hits home because everything that we do is for our friends, family, and neighbors.
Good answer. I'm going to say this one more time, careers.forsythtech.edu and goodwillnwnc.org. Thank you, all of you, for doing what you're doing. Let's keep our fingers crossed, getting those instructors in there.
Thank you.
We'll be right back after this.
Are you looking to jumpstart your future in the fast-paced, rapidly growing food industry? In Second Harvest Food Bank's Providence Culinary Training Program, you'll learn the craft and art of cooking, plus business and management skills, science and nutrition, and essential life skills. Providence Culinary Training has helped hundreds of individuals just like you launch successful culinary careers. There's no reason to wait to turn your passion for food into an exciting career. Check out the upcoming class schedule on our website at providencews.org.
Hi, I'm Jim Longworth, reminding you to catch my column Longworth at Large and Yes Weekly every week. It's available throughout the Triad, or you can go online, yesweekly.com. Back now on Triad Today, and I'd like to spend a few minutes talking about something called a new home consortium. I don't know about it yet. I want to find out about it, and two gentlemen that are going to help with that are with us right now. My good friend on the immediate right, Matthew Doles, Executive Director of Piedmont Triad Regional Council and a first-time visitor to the show. Matthew's guest is Michael Blair, Director of Community Development for PTRC. Good to see you guys.
Great to be here, Jim.
Matthew, I'm going to start with you. For folks that maybe haven't seen us talk about these things before, or they just moved into the area, what's PTRC all about? What's the mission?
So PTRC at its heart is a membership organization of 75 local governments, all the cities and counties in the Triad. And what we do is help them come up with creative regional solutions to help with the lives of their citizens. And one of those key areas that we do that in is community development and housing. And we've got a great new initiative, and that's why I brought Michael with me today.
Well, Michael, that's a perfect introduction to you. What types of, we'll get into specifics in a minute, but in general, what types of housing programs do you do?
Well, the general focus is for affordable housing, and it could be rental or home ownership. And we have programs that work on energy efficiency for people that are eligible for the program, like heating and air and insulation and air sealing, things like that.
Right. And
then we also have programs that actually bring a house up to code. Roof and ramps and things like that for eligible people, as well as housing voucher assistance in 4 rural counties.
Wow. Now, I'll put up a website in just a little while so folks can get more information about some of the specifics you were talking about, because I know their ears are perking up when you mention some of those things about energy efficiency, and they want to find out more. But first, let me mention that Matthew sent me an email earlier in the week, and he mentioned something about a new home program consortium. Mm-hmm. What is that?
Well, what that is a HUD-funded program that Burlington, the city of Burlington, is going to be the grantee and the lead entity, along with 5 counties. That would be Caswell, Alamance, Rockingham, Randolph, and Davidson, along with 16 of the 29 cities and towns. And what that is it's an affordable housing type program. So we can leverage funding to help affordable housing development or rehabilitating homeowner-owned houses.
Right.
So it'll be it's a new resource that will help other programs and leverage other programs throughout the region and make all of them work better.
Now, you mentioned about affordability. How is this program, looking ahead in the future and get your crystal ball out, how is this really going to help on the ground for accessibility, affordability when it comes to housing in our region? What's your best guess?
Well, as everybody knows, housing prices have gone through the roof, rental as well as home ownership and buying. So what this does, it will be able to fund like Habitat type of organizations in those 5 counties to build houses for new homeowners. It will help older rental properties sometimes need some work, and we could help fix them up, but in order to get that funding, they have to keep the rents lower.
This is all really important for quality of life overall, isn't it, Matthew?
Yeah, it really is. I mean, housing is a huge issue for folks. And with this, we've had a consortium in 4 of our rural counties, and this is bringing it to the other side of the region. We've actually produced close to 100 units of housing within just those small rural counties.
Wow.
It's going to bring about $1.8 million to play. And what we can use that for is to leverage private sector funding so that a project that might not make sense for them, if we can put in money, all of a sudden it makes sense for them to invest in building new housing in the region.
Is this program that Michael was talking about, is that ready to go right now? Will people, when I give the website in just a second, they're going to say, let's jump on it, or what's the deal?
So we've just gotten that into HUD. It seems to have, the state folks says met their approval. It'll be funded in the new federal budget, so money won't start rolling until 2024.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean we can't start developing projects so that we're ready to hit the ground when that money hits.
All right, and that leads me to this. Up on screen, ptrc.org is the general website for the organization Piedmont Triad Regional Council that does such good work in helping to network folks and bring resources to all the localities. It helps everybody in this area and lifts us all up and improves quality of life. And guys, I appreciate everything you do.
It's always great to be here, Jim.
Thank you for having me.
We'll be right back after this.
Fly local, fly easy, fly PTI.
Back now on Triad Today, just about time for the roundtable, but a quick shout out to our good folks here at the Senior Botanical Garden in Kernersville. Hope you'll come out and visit the garden. We've got the website on the screen if you want to do that and book a reception or a luncheon or a wedding or something. You can do anything out here, including the roundtable. That's what we're doing. On my right, but always political left, Ogie Overman, the great broadcaster and journalist. Dr. Don Martin, chairman of the Forsyth County Board of Commissioners, is with us, and Keith Granberry, founder of Helping Hands Consultants. Okay, guys. Guilford County Commissioners recently rejected a proposal to put the phrase, "In God We Trust," on 10 different county buildings. Proponents said we should be able to display the national motto anywhere we want to. Opponents say the motto could make some people feel unwelcome. Guys, would you like to see "In God We Trust" on public buildings? Ogie.
The commissioners did something right. I'm shocked. God bless them.
Don't like it? All right, Don.
I'm probably okay with "In God We Trust" in our buildings. U.S. Supreme Court's dealt with it. It's considered actually secular.
Okay. Keith.
I mean, God can be to anybody. I mean, different gods. It doesn't necessarily mean a Christian. So I think it should be okay.
Okay. Speaking of religion, parents and an advocacy group, both in Montgomery County, Maryland, are suing the school board for not allowing elementary students to opt out of reading books featuring LGBTQ characters. The group says exposing children to these books infringes on their religious beliefs. Guys, should students have the right to opt out of reading books that go against their religious beliefs? Ogie.
That's just wrong on so many levels, Jim. Do kids at that age even have religious beliefs? Is it a religious issue anyway? Is it book banning? Is it limiting free speech, your thought? And is it just another boot in the neck of the trans community?
And you think it's an issue they're masking something else with?
Absolutely.
Don.
Well, the past in those kind of cases it's optional. Usually all kinds of readings, if they're objectionable, they're alternate assignments. That's pretty typical. I'm a little surprised that because it's emphasized in the case, their curriculum is requiring that. My suspicion is, because the first judge has already agreed with the school district, I would not be surprised it gets overturned on First Amendment.
Okay.
I think that we're starting to get too specific. I think when you're young, you should learn how to deal with people in general, whether you are a gender, whatever gender, it should be taught so you will learn instead of really getting specific in the gender-based stuff, because everyone, as they go, are going to be able to identify with whoever they identify with.
All right. We've talked before about whether biological boys who identify as female should be able to compete in women's sports. Now, believe it or not, the World Chess Federation is banning trans women from competing in women's chess events. The implications sound like they're saying that men are smarter than women, which is weird, because I know they're not. Is the ban ridiculous or sexist or both or neither?
It's both. Clearly it's both, Jim. I mean, that's way over the line, and talk about just kick them when they're down. Just another way to discriminate against a group that's already ostracized.
Chess is not sports. What do you think, Don?
Well, I actually didn't know there was a women's division and a men's division. I thought it could just be anybody, and you qualify based on your previous records. I agree it's a little mysterious, and I do wonder, what about a trans woman wanting to play on the men's side, whether that's the same or not.
Ban people from
playing
chess?
Chess should be just chess. So why do we have men and women?
Yeah,
doesn't make sense to me.
Of course, you got a queen and a king, but besides that,
I'm the king,
thing,
but other than that,
the queen's more powerful.
Yeah, exactly, queen.
Yeah,
but I am the king.
That's the king back there.
Exactly.
Keith Richard Petty Granberry.
No.
Currently, 19 states still allow school officials to spank students. Last week, now North Carolina is not one that officially accepts that. There are some pockets of school, I think back in Pembroke or something, that occasionally you'll hear of a spanking. But anyway, last week the Council on School Health issued a report calling for a federal law that would abolish corporal punishment in all 50 states. Just one federal law. Guys, would you like to see Congress ban all spanking in schools across the board, control it, the federal legislation, or should we still leave that up to each state? Ogie.
Jim, you remember probably 25, 30 years ago, Maggie Cassee, a state senator from Guilford County, introduced a bill to ban corporal punishment, and she was basically run out of the Senate for something that absurd.
Yeah, great legislator.
I mean, it's come a pretty good way since then, but it's not to the point of banning it nationwide.
Federal law for that, Don?
No, I think that is a states' right issue. That in local districts, and North Carolina is permissive. And local districts can decide not to. Winston-Salem Forsyth does not.
Keith, quickly.
I think it should be federal. I mean, spanking right now, it's a different time. And I don't think that that's something that should be done nowhere in the school system. At home, it should be mandatory to get a spanking.
I got paddled in school.
At home, you should have mandatory.
I got
you know what?
Yeah, I got paddled in school.
At home.
That paddle hurt.
Not at school.
Yeah, coach paddled me. Finally, a Florida sheriff is urging beachgoers not to keep calling the police when they see pairs of manatees engaged in what seems to be a violent activity. In fact, the fish are just having sex. Guys, have you ever witnessed or interfered with two animals mating? Ogie.
Now, I've seen a lot on TV. I think it's kind of cool. It's kind of funny, really. I mean, I'm kind of a voyeur anyway.
Don't want to call the police, though.
No.
Don?
No.
You've never witnessed or interfered? No. Keith, you ever witnessed or interfered with two animals mating?
I have witnessed it on the beach, and those animals were human, but I did not interfere. I left them alone. I didn't fool with them. I just kept walking.
Okay, well, that's all. Fortunately, that's all the time we have. Oh, except for this. The Greensboro Science Center has just acquired a sloth for its new exhibit. Now, the sloth will sleep at the Science Center at night, but it'll still keep its day job at the post office. No, I'm just kidding. I have good friends at the post office. Don't email me. I'm a sloth. They're not. All right, for all of us manatees, I'm Jim Longworth. We'll see you next week.